You know, Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
Welcome back to the channel. Not too long ago, my good friend Eric Breen came on and he was like, hey, I'm going back to my comic book shop. I wasn't reading Marvel, I wasn't reading DC, but all of a sudden we've got this great Superman series. We got a nice Green Arrow series. Green Lantern looks like it's the bomb. Flash has been pretty good. We still got World's Finest. And he started buying into the DC Comics Dawn of DC hype. And it feels like you're having a little bit of regret, obviously, to hear with me to talk about that is the man so cool. They call him the Breen, the voice of the voiceless. Eric Breen, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Wes, and congratulations on hitting 30K.
I don't know what people are thinking, but hey, I'll take it. I'm glad it finally happened. And I was kind of, I don't know, I was kind of a jerk before, but now that I've hit 30K, I'm an insufferable prick. That's just kind of who I am now that I got the big time, you know?
See, I was hoping it's going to be more like when a guy is building his body at the gym, when he's on the way to being huge, he wears his clothes way too tight. But once he gets there, he starts wearing like tents because he has nothing left to prove. We were kind of hoping that's where 30K West was going to be.
Absolutely not. I'm going to rub it in everyone's face and let them know that I'm super duper successful. That's just kind of who I am.
I guess that's what we're going to have to live with.
So we get to this week. Obviously, we had Dawn of DC. They introduced a lot of new series that people were enjoying, mostly from Mark Waid, Josh Williamson, and Jeremy Adams. Maybe a standout here or there that I'm not thinking of at this moment. They stopped it all for Night Terrors, and I don't even know what Dawn of DC is. Is it these stupid events like Lazarus Planet and Night Terrors, or is it these really good throwback feeling comic books that really get to the heart of the characters? And then this week, we get the ultimate dichotomy in comic book history. You get Batman Superman, World's Finest 17 from Mark Waid. Absolutely perfect comic book. Beautiful art, beautiful story, so much fun, great conclusion. But we also get Hawkgirl #1 from Jadzia Axelrod. Doc and I did a review of that on the channel here recently. And I'm befuddled, Breen. I'm here with you. I don't know, like, how can the same company actually produce both of these characters in these books?
Well, something I've said numerous occasions, and we've talked about this, I think there's some kind of civil war going on at DC. There's the side that wants to produce comics for comic book fans, like World's Finest, and to a degree, several of the Dawn of DC titles. And then you've got the other side that just seems to be interested in advancing certain agendas and using established characters to advance them. Like you said, World's Finest was almost a perfect comic. You had tons of heroes coming together, figuring out finally how to stop a seemingly unstoppable menace and doing it in a really clever way. You got to it had good art, good writing, and a very satisfying conclusion to a storyline. And then you had a whole bunch of Night Terrors that, you know, to me, all look alike. And then Hawkgirl. And I will say, Hawkgirl had good art. I forgot who the artist was, but I hope there's assignments for this person after that. The story itself was terrible. It was everything that people that like comics for comics don't want to see in a comic. You had Kendra, who's completely unlikable. Every character, the scene where she joins a battle, everybody emotionally validates her throughout the entire scene. All the side characters were introduced are all gay, and that's neither here nor there. But her old college roommate, who was married, now gay, now wants Kendra. You know where that's going.
Oh, yeah.
And it seemed like this entire comic was so she could write that Galaxy character again. And I did a little digging into that. It was about a girl pretending to be a boy that falls in love with a girl. And where have we seen it? Oh, yeah. Every YA novel published in the last 10 years. It's the same thing. And I read this, like, where have I read this before? I said, every time I read something from a Vita Ayala or a Danny Lore or a Picca Stephanie or a T. Franklin, it's like these writers don't have a second arrow in their quiver. It's the same every time.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. You buy into obviously DC Comics Rebirth. I mean, that's been 7 years now. It's been a long time. They didn't really even stick with that for like a year and a half before they kind of destroyed everything there. Obviously, they weren't going in completely this direction. They decided they wanted to make DC Comics a horror universe because Scott Snyder was their main writer and basically destroyed everything, along with bringing in Brian Michael Bendis, letting Tom King go wild on a lot of their characters. So you start learning the lesson. Maybe I shouldn't trust DC Comics. And then every time they start to get some momentum, you know, they got a few good titles out there. It feels like maybe DC Comics gets it once again, or at least is going to produce a nice handful of comic books. you end up hitting a roadblock like this. It's almost like when you get to Batgirl 50, which is, I know, a comic book that you absolutely loathe, and you can't help but hold it against not only the publisher, but the other creators there. If this is where I'm going to get to eventually, why even take the journey with any of the other characters? Because it's that bad.
One of the things, and I know the comics doesn't really traffic in this anymore, is if you have a superhero universe, if you're a fan and a collector, you kind of want to immerse yourself in that entire universe. And knowing that where you have what's going on in Green Lantern, Green Arrow, the Superman books, and then you see what's going on with Hawkgirl, for example, or Tim Drake Robin. If I read a book with Robin in it, the best we can hope for now is that everything that Megan Fitzmartin did is just ignored, and he's presented as close to what actual Tim Drake fans like, minus the Stephanie, because that will never happen again. Now, granted, Hawkgirl, Kendra Saunders was never the most likable person in the world, but this version, she's just a bitch because, and I'm wondering if the writer, again, some of these writers that didn't grow up talking to people face to face, they grew up online. Not sure they know how to talk to people. They end up just sounding like TikTokers, or they speak in text. There's just nothing about this character that made me want to see where this goes, because I already know where this goes. And
it's Abilene. Besides that, she's actually a dude, and they date because she's now trans or whatever. It's so easy and obvious to see where the story is actually going, not only because of what the plot is in that first issue, but because of who the writer is. Oh, you've got a trans writer, so you have a trans allegory, body positive, lesbian, alien hero in Galaxy that needs to take over the book and be the real hero. And then we also have some gender and sexuality confusion going on with the main character, Kendra Saunders, and this girl, Abilene, who was introduced back in the day. I believe they were college roommates or whatever. This doesn't actually make sense for any of the characters whatsoever, especially the stuff with Carter Hall. She's like, yeah, we were dating and we had a falling out. It's almost like Jadzia Axelrod forgot about what makes Hawkgirl Hawkgirl and what makes Hawkman Hawkman. Their journeys are forever intertwined. That's what makes the character special.
Venditti did kind of get away from that and bring back Hawkwoman. So I guess in this...
He couldn't, because she was in the Justice League at the time, and he had to wait until he could bring her back into the series.
But Kendra's kind of her own person, but she never showed any inclination to be attracted to women, because, remember that she was with Roy Harper. I guess she's in John Jones recently or something, but none of that matters because Jacinda Axelrod has a story to tell, and it's her story. She is one of those characters. I'm not sure which yet. Like, the only drama in the series is which one is she going to end up with, the college roommate or Galaxy or whoever that is. Now, I have no problem with the Galaxy as a self-contained entity, because, like I said, but when you integrate characters that were writers telling stories that just basically become self-inserts into a shared superhero universe, they said it's kind of like, to use a kind of crass term, kind of becomes the turd in the punch bowl. Problem is, there's a lot of those swimming around the punch bowl at DC these days.
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen it time and time again. You got the John Kent Superman book, where John Kent Superman isn't the actual hero. It's Jay Nakamura coming into his own and really saving the day. You got that Tim Drake Robin book, which you mentioned. Tim Drake's not really the hero. Bernard's the hero. He's the one that ends up saving Tim Drake at the end of this one. And when we get to this one, and you can already see Hawkgirl isn't the hero. It's going to be Galaxy, because that's the self-insert character of Jadzia Axelrod, and that's what's really important here. But this character really isn't going to resonate with comic book readers. It never was, and it's just a failed effort, and it ruins, in a lot of ways, the DC Comics universe and any momentum that was gained through Dawn of DC and actually putting out some pretty damn good books there for a minute.
And that kind of reminds me of something that Richard likes to say in his videos. The title character should be the hero of the book. At some point, that was a knock I had on the Rocketeer series last year, was he got saved by a side character. Now, when the title character becomes almost a background character, because she doesn't get this series without using Hawkgirl, but it's so she can tell a Galaxy story or a Jadzia Axelrod story told through one of these other characters. And I'd love to maybe know more about this person or what what her motivations are for the series, but I'm blocked. Everybody's blocked. There are more people on that
You're a
blockchain.
thought criminal, Breen.
Yeah, and there are probably more people on that blockchain that will be buying this issue by number 3.
Absolutely, because the first issue probably will sell because it's going to be spec value, right? This is the first appearance of Galaxy in the DC universe, and that character is going to be in the DCU on the big screen, so you got to get it for spec value. least that's what like 10 other channels that are absolutely morons are out there telling people right now.
And it's getting praise in all the usual places and from the people that won't even bother to pirate it by issue 4. So this was DOA. Everybody knew that, but why does DC continue to greenlight failure?
Why didn't they just, if they wanted to introduce Galaxy into the DC universe, Galaxy could have had her own solo book written by Jadzia Axelrod, and it wouldn't piss anybody off because there are no Galaxy fans out there, but there are Hawkgirl fans, there are Hawkman fans, there are people out there that just don't get a whole lot of Hawkman or Hawkgirl content, Hawkwoman, whatever you want to call her, content within the DC Comics universe. This is the only miniseries you'll see featuring one of those two characters probably for another 5 to 10 years now, and it's a complete waste. You don't even get to really see who Hawkgirl is. You're getting to see some weird bastardized version because the writer just can't really get around what the character actually is and what she represents.
Well, it doesn't matter who the character is or what she represents because she is there to be what Jadzia Axelrod wants her to be. It doesn't matter what's come before, nor will it matter what comes again or after it. And that's the problem with when you, for lack of a better term, cast writers instead of hiring legitimate comic book writers. As much as we've banged on Mark Waid for things he's done in his life, professionally and personally, you read a Mark Waid comic and you are entertained as a comic book reader because he gets it. He understands what makes a good comic book.
And he always highlights the characters. That's what I love about a Mark Waid comic book. You feel like you're getting Batman, Superman. You feel like you're getting all these other characters, obviously, that are thrown in there because there's a lot of characters in that Batman, Superman, World's Finest issue. And it never deviates from the core of these characters. And he wanted to create something new, Ultra Mazo, and he can go and play with that if you want to do something different. But when he actually uses established characters, they have their voices, they have their experiences, and they feel authentic. That's all I want.
And that doesn't seem like a big ask, does it?
No. I mean, it seems like the basic, the minimum.
But again, it comes down to who does DC want reading their books? And I don't think they're on the same page internally. And they don't have the luxury of Marvel. All Marvel has to do is spell their name right to get their 50-something% market share. And God help DC when Marvel's actually doing more than 1.5 good books at a time. So DC,
man, what are the 1.5 good books? There's Moon Knight,
Moon Knight, and Blade. I don't know.
Blade's only one issue. I think Ghost Rider, maybe.
Spider-Man's a train wreck. It still sells. Awful. Yeah, I said Fantastic Four is dreadful. The X-Men are whatever comes after dreadful.
Dude, wait till you see what happens in Hellfire Gala. I've got a spoiler video. It'll already be up on the channel when this video comes up, and then I'm going to make Doc review it. But it's just as bad as Hawkgirl if you want train wrecks.
But that doesn't hurt Marvel nearly what stuff like this will do to DC, because people look for reasons to read Marvel. It's almost like people look for reasons not to read DC. So all the momentum they got with Dawn of DC, hell, I saw a commercial. We talked about that. I saw a commercial on AEW for Dawn of DC. They take all these right steps, and it's like, give me a gun. I got a foot to shoot.
Well, and that's the problem. They give everybody that's a DC fan, for the most part, they always give you a reason to walk away. Every time they start going in the right direction, we got some momentum. Now it's time to branch off and do what we really wanted to do here. We didn't actually want to tell authentic, real stories about the superheroes in a shared universe that makes sense. Let's go off and do what's Nightmare DC look like? What's gender studies DC comics look like? And actually do the stories that we want to now that people are actually interested in the characters again. And they absolutely shoot themselves in the foot every single time. And it gets frustrating after a while, especially when you're more into DC heroes like myself than Marvel Comics heroes. And I know there's a lot of Marvel fans out there, but I'm more into the DC heroes. I really like the DC universe. But every time these guys, they pull me in a little bit, they give me at least 5 or 6 reasons to just never come back.
Here's another thing. So Dawn of DC, momentum. Yeah, let's do a line-wide event for 2 months and derail that. Again, so you had Crisis of Infinite Night Terrors on the shelves, but you had World's Finest in Hawkgirl. Oh man, here's an alternative. Something that's not Night Terrors, and this is great. What the? You couldn't even get 2 good alternatives from an event that most of us probably don't care about. I mean, I know the diehards do, but I mean, I've long
the comic book speculators that like covers absolutely love this event because, shockingly, and I think we all know this, horror-based superhero comic book covers actually look cool, and they always have.
I hope that's working for him because I said I work at a comic shop and I don't see those stacks going down a whole lot on Wednesdays. But yeah, and right, some of those covers do look cool.
Absolutely.
But is there anything in between those covers? I mean, hell, Hawkgirl had a cool cover. We know
the art was good on Hawkgirl too.
Yeah.
I forget his name. It's something Manupod. I forget it's Amen K. Manupod is the name of the artist. Actually, he's more of a horror artist, really. But I thought he did a really good job, and I felt so bad for all those terrible word bubbles destroying the art and the visual storytelling that he was doing, because I can't imagine a comic book that unimportant with writing that bad looking much better.
Well, said closest he came to horror on this was he drew a horrible book.
Absolutely. That's the frustration that comes with it, Breen. You swear off new comic books. They tease you out a few things. You're like, oh, yeah, I actually do like this. You decide to take the plunge, and you're pretty happy there for a few months. And then they add a DC Comics. And I guess that's the big thing, that you always regret coming back.
Yeah.
That's my big problem.
And I realized, I said, I'm not their target audience anymore. And, I'm not saying they shouldn't do anything for people that have been around forever, because, some of us are still here, but I just read something like Hawkgirl and go, who is this for? Because I know who it's for, but they don't exist in enough numbers as comic book readers to support.
They're not interested in superheroes.
No.
As I mentioned earlier, this is a bit of a change from the tune that Eric Breen was speaking not too long ago. He was actually really happy, really content, and he was pretty optimistic about the future of DC Comics. But of course, DC had to DC Comics the whole damn thing. Definitely check this out, where he talked about everything right that was happening with DC and why he was excited about the future. Obviously, he didn't see Hawkgirl #1 happening at that moment. There's also a link in the video description.